Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Doing well. Did you sleep good?
I did. How'd you sleep?
I slept really good. I had a dream that I was hanging out with Jay-Z and 50 Cent.
Those two.
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Huh. What were y'all talking about?
Um, I think we are talking about business.
Oh,
How crazy is that?
okay. Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
showing me how to rap.
So they were teaching you something new?
They were explaining why they put certain stuff in their lyrics, and 50 Cent was gonna make a song with me. Don't that? That's
Ah.
such a strange dream.
So I think that means that there's some things you need to learn.
I guess
And
so.
and you'll learn from the best because those are two good rappers.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's never literal. It's just
It's never literal,
no.
but I woke up confused.
Nah. It's a
Anyway,
good
how's everybody doing
good
today?
dream.
How's everybody doing? I see Kevin Bonner and Gabrielle and Ocean. Ocean said, sorry, Gabrielle says you definitely just woke up. Yeah, yeah, for sure. WT Wonk says you're the only woman who I see covering this. Yeah, we're gonna cover something interesting today. Actually, before we get started, though, shout out the city that you're from. We'd like to know what city everybody's coming from on Pillow Talk. Let's see. Critica, I think the video is staged and fake. They're attempting to take our guns. Another justification. Okay. Evelyn,
Oh.
El Sayek. Okay. Yeah, they are. Yeah, it looks like everybody's already jumping in this topic. So let us not delay things. I showed you this video yesterday, and I want you guys to know I'm not going to show this whole video because YouTube has a ban on showing violence, and I don't want to traumatize everybody this morning by showing you somebody getting shot. But just imagine somebody pulling out a gun and shooting the other person. There was an incident down in Lubbock, Texas. Right, this kind of thing
Mm.
you expect. Well, not you expect it to happen in Texas, but you would expect it to happen in Texas.
Yes, you would.
And yeah, and it was
Yeah.
a classic case of baby daddy, baby mama drama. These were not black people. So even though there are some baby mama, baby daddy drama situations that happen in our community, this was between two guys right here that where the guy in the green shirt came to pick up his son, and the situation, got kind of out of hand. He starts arguing with the mother of the child. I came here at 3:15 to get my son. You should have had him ready, and I'm taking you to court, and you to court, you to court, you to court. Well, apparently the lady's boyfriend was like, "You need to step off my property," right? So he comes out with a weapon, and that only makes things worse. And then eventually you end with one guy on the ground, and I'll show you guys a little bit of the clip um, now, so you can kind of see it. I cut out the part where he actually shoots him again because YouTube has a thing where you can't do stuff like that. Everybody's got a mandate nowadays, but also I think you don't need to see all that. I mean, if you want to see it, it's online. But I'd rather not celebrate a person's death. So here's a piece of the clip.
I'll go get him. I'm supposed to have him at 3:15. And you're playing games telling me that I can pick him up at 6? I'm going to have him come. I've already got the pump on the way to your mom's house. Because that's probably where he is. It's not when I'm done working. I get him at 3:15. I get him at 3:15. I don't care if you wanted to see him or not. I get him at 3:15. If you want to see him, you see him up until 3:15. You keep trying to keep my son from me. I'm fixing to drag you and Anne Marie and everybody else into court. I'm subpoenaing your mom. I'm subpoenaing Anne Marie. This is on video. I'm very glad. I am. Leave. Do it right now. You gotta fucking use it, motherfucker. Because goddamn it, I'll take it from you and fucking use it on you.
Call the police. Call 911.
Where's my son?
So you saw enough there to kind of get the gist of the situation, and you can hear the two arguing. He's basically saying, "You keep trying to keep me from seeing my son," and the other guy says, "Leave my porch, like leave my house now." And when he comes out with a weapon, and the other guy then he doesn't back off. He gets in his face, And eventually, there is a point where he does kind of tussle with him to try to pull the gun away, and then the guy backs off. And when he backs off, he aims and he fires. And the whole debate is, self defense or not. And I think that can be discussed. But I'd like to get your initial thoughts, babe, just in terms of just what you were saying, just as a social worker, as a couples counselor, as a person, who's had to confront situations where you've seen baby daddy, baby mama drama. What did you kind of see when I showed you that first clip?
Okay, so I've seen baby mama, baby daddy drama, but not quite like this. Oh
But
my
but you
goodness.
did work in Chicago, though, at the Chicago Cook County Hospital, so I'm sure you had to have seen.
Yeah, I saw. Okay, let me give you my initial sort of reaction here. I heard chickens in the background.
Yeah, I did
I
too.
heard
I heard the chicken too.
roosters. Like, this is some extra stuff. This is something extra than what I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite this dramatic and blown up like this. Literally blown. I mean, we saw the video. Was it last night? And I mean,
Hmm.
I said, wait, did that man just die? Did he just shoot that man to death? Like, it was just I think that part was just really shocking and unbelievable that these two adults can't get their shit together. Excuse my French. Can't get it together. I also think that uh what is going on with scheduling a visitation? It looks like he was going to see his son. Was it over like the holiday break? Do we know?
You know what? I don't know if it was over the break. I know it appeared in the media in all the headlines about 2 days ago, and
Okay.
I know that a lot of people were commenting on it. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole clip is there where you can actually watch the two struggle and the guy back up and shoot him. And interestingly enough, the guy who pulled the trigger,
Mm-hmm.
he's the ex husband of a judge in the area,
Okay.
and so
Oh, ex-husband of a
yeah.
judge.
And what's also interesting is that no charges were filed, from what I understand. I
Oh,
think that I
really?
think that they've listed him as a suspect, but they still have not filed charges. And so so here's the point, right? I think that rather than just getting into the specifics of a specific case,
Well, I'm just curious. I mean, those are initial questions that come to my mind. Like, what, just trying to figure out what actually happened
right.
in
So
there.
so
Mm-hmm.
what I'm seeing with this is not just because, remember that, I think, like, I know on my podcast, when I talk about things that happen, I don't just want to talk about the event.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just want to talk about the people. I want to talk about
Okay.
the energy behind the incident and how we can all grow from this, right? Because somebody asked a good question. They said, "What is the point? What is the point in all this? What can we learn from this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why are we even talking about this?" And I think it's a good point, right? I don't want to talk about this from a gossipy standpoint. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look, this guy shot his shot the baby daddy or whatever, his girlfriend's baby daddy.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to basically extrapolate and ask everybody in the chat: has anybody ever confronted baby mama, baby daddy drama before? Has anybody ever been in a situation where stuff got out of hand, in a relationship, where it got ridiculous, and not that somebody ended up dead, but things just got to the point that they didn't have to get to?
Yeah, I'm just giving my initial sort of reaction to it first. So, I think like it reminded me a little bit of the Rittenhouse case, where it's just like, I'm gonna be so ready to pull a gun out and shoot somebody. I don't care who it is. Oh, someone came to my door. Tell him to go away, and I'm gonna get my gun out. It's almost like this trigger happy. Uh, what is the
Like
what's the word?
hillbillies, like country
Trigger
folks.
happy people who are just ready to shoot somebody. You just ready to fight somebody. You just have
Right.
a gun loaded. You have a gun loaded in your house, ready to fight.
Right,
You
right.
know.
Now, and I agree with that, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's different perspectives on self defense all throughout the country, different legalities, and I say the lawyers are going to debate that. But what I was paying attention to wasn't so much what happened. I was
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to why it happened. Is there a way to prevent things from escalating? And so, because the guy was there clearly because he could not see his child, he was
Well,
pissed off. And I saw people debating on social media, and I saw some people saying, well, that's self defense. Of course, if you come in somebody's house or invade their territory, they have the right to shoot you. But then the question becomes, did he have to shoot him? Did it have to get to that point? Did the guy who was upset, the guy in the green, who was mad that he couldn't see his son. Was there a better way he could have handled it? Because he's getting in everybody's face. The guy comes out with a gun. He steps up and says, "Use it, motherfucker!" Right? He pushes the limit as far as he could go. And the thing is, the reason I pay attention is not so much because of one incident with one family. I'm thinking about all the incidents with millions of families where many of us have had scenarios where we had to deal with either, however you, depending on how you want to look at it, either a toxic baby mama or baby daddy, or somebody who was new to the relationship, new to the situation, who was toxic. Right? You're the baby daddy, and you're trying to go see your son, and you're dealing with this person in your child's household that you don't approve of. And I guess the question is, what are applicable processes and tools we can use to deal with shit like that? That's what I'm asking. I mean,
I'd like to comment on the. I mean, we could get into that for sure. It's just, now he'll never see his son because this man has just
dead.
killed him.
Yeah,
and he'll never ever get to see him. And I think that's just taking it over the top. And it's so weird how people's emotions get all tied up. And all they want to do is fight. He felt threatened. He felt threatened by the father coming to the house. So I guess that's his wife. Did he move on? Seems like he moved on to another. Let's see. The wife moved on, and maybe she's living or remarried. We don't know the situation. And he's just coming to pick his son up. Why does it have to escalate? I'm picking him up. It's 3:15. Where is he?
Yeah. Well, let me just play the clip after he shoots the guy. The guy's laying on the ground dead.
Like, how did he know to come to the house?
He's arguing with the dead guy's wife, and saying, "I told y'all not to come here. I told y'all not to." So here's that part. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Hopefully the audio will be loud enough. I'll turn it all the way up. Here we go.
Okay.
Sorry, I made a mistake. This is actually not the clip of after the fact, but this is actually the clip where before the fact. But let's play it again just so we can take a look.
I'll go get him. I'm supposed to have him at 3:15. And you're playing games telling me that I can pick him up at 6? I'm going to have him cuffed. I've already got the cuffs on the way to your mom's house. Because that's probably where he is. It's not when I'm done working. I get him at 3:15. I get him at 3:15. I don't care if you wanted to see him or not. I get him at 3:15. If you want to see him, you see him up until 3:15. You keep trying to keep my son from me. I'm fixing to drag you and Anne-Marie and everybody else into court. I'm subpoenaing your mom. I'm subpoenaing Anne-Marie. This is on video. Please do it. Right, you never fucking use it, motherfucker. Because goddamn it, I'll take it from you and fucking keep it on you.
Call the police. Call 911.
My son.
Okay, so that's kind of what happened, I guess, before the fact, and that's where you have, kind of this whole scenario where the two are kind of going back and forth, and I was kind of surprised that the guy was still so aggressive even after the gun came out. You almost kind of feel like that was a time where most people would have backed down a little bit and just walked away and handled it a different way. And I what I was thinking in that situation is I put myself in the shoes of both the shooter and the victim, right? If I'm the victim, if I'm the guy in the green and I came to see my child and you're not letting me see my child, my thought is you call the police.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that happen. But it's so weird. How did they not get their communication together beforehand? Like, you should never show up to some place thinking that your child is going to be there and then he's not. Apparently he wasn't there in the house. It's just how does the communication just totally break down?
Yeah.
And then and it seems like there probably some history going on there, because the what is it? The new boyfriend or husband or whoever comes out. He doesn't even come out to even reason. He comes out angry with his gun. He just took it to 100. really, really quickly. So you almost get the sense that there's been a whole bunch of stuff happening before this video, and it just
Yeah.
led up to a certain point. Like I get that, man. I probably get the impression that there was a lot of arguments going on, and he just got in his car and drove over there. Because how would the lady know to start recording? Whoever this person is recording in the car, she's probably
Mm,
thinking, "I'm recording because this is going to be evidence.
that is
This
true.
evidence I'm going to use in court." Never
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
that it was evidence. So I mean, it's just like, have him ready at 3:15. This is what we decided. And you do have a parenting plan. Hopefully, maybe they had a parenting plan. Call the police. Just let them know, hey, I have a visitation order here. I'm supposed to pick him up at 3:30 or 3:15. He's not ready. Could you please deal with it? I think we need to
Yeah.
stop dealing with stuff in our own hands.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
my thought in terms of, like, so if you put yourself in the shoes of the child's father, you're right. It looked to me like there, you're right, there wasn't communication, but I would imagine that perhaps he went to the house because he had expected to see his kid, and they didn't deliver his
Mm-hmm.
child, so he's like, I'm going over there to get my child. And the thing that makes me interested in this as a man is, with men there is a lot of bravado that occurs because you're already kind of competing over a woman. You're already in a scenario where maybe he's pissed off because she's got the new boyfriend. You're pissed off that another man is in the house with your child. That's one thing. That's one of the reasons why I'm a huge advocate for um, getting support, maybe therapy, and help in your relationships. Because the person you have a child with, it's very hard to raise a child when you can't live in the house with that child, and it's very frustrating, I would imagine, for anybody where suddenly the child that is your DNA is in the house with another man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's infuriating for a lot of men. And I know we have a world where everybody's supposed to act like that's it's just a normal thing, but you don't feel like it's normal because that man could be doing anything to your child. There are a lot, millions of children that get molested by their mother's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of one of those things where I think um I didn't agree with his approach. I think both of the guys overstepped,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that sometimes that macho stuff makes us overstep. Like, you getting in the face of a guy with a gun. You could just back up, let the cops get in his face,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But then at the same time, you feel like, okay, I'm not as much of a man because I did not go fight for my child. Like, a lot of fathers feel that way. A lot of fathers feel like, I would die. I'm willing to take a bullet to go and get my child.
Yeah, but the thing is, taking a bullet to get your child doesn't help your child.
Right.
So it's just, you have to put the needs of the child ahead of anything. So your child needs you alive and healthy so that you can
That's
take
true.
care of them. So nobody in this whole scenario put the needs of the child first. I think that's what's so key. Why not have the child ready at 3 o'clock? Suppose the agreement was, get the child ready on a Thursday, and he comes and picks his child up on a Wednesday. I mean, why not just say, okay, go ahead and take him? Why not just be flexible and bend? Why not
Mm,
bend? Why not bend? Okay, here you can take the child. Why not, even if the other person is making a mistake, or the other person got the dates wrong and all of that. Why not just, I think that everybody gets so set into their ego, and you not going to do this and you're going to do this, that they're not even thinking about, first of all this drama in the front lawn of your house is so embarrassing. Children are already embarrassed, by the situation. And neighbors, I'm sure neighbors are coming out looking to see what's going on, and you got these adults acting like children. So
mm.
it's not in the scenario. We're not thinking about having a nice, healthy, peaceful environment for a child to be raised in.
Yeah, that's a good point. By the way, you are
Yeah.
watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. And Alicia, if you want to follow Alicia, you can follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. She is a licensed relationship therapist, also a certified life coach, right? Is that right?
A
Yeah.
certified life coach, and a therapist, and a social worker, and I teach other people how to become therapists.
And
Isn't that cool?
you're a full professor of social work. That's a big deal too.
Go ahead.
That's hard to very hard, very very rare. So anyway, yeah,
Anyway.
if you want to follow her on Instagram, you can follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And also, if you have an interest in taking part in this, Alicia and I are participating together in a drama free families seminar that we're going to do. We're going to do kind of a weekend deep dive intensive on how to have a drama free family. That means healthy communication. That means managing the kids the right way. That means dealing with whatever situation you're dealing with in a way where everybody's healthy. So if you'd like to participate or take a look, there's a big discount on it because it is Cyber Monday. So you can go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia, follow her on Instagram, click the link in the bio. And when you click the link in the bio, you will see a link to the Drama Free Families class that's going to happen on the 5th of December.
Oh my gosh. I am so excited I get to do something with you boys.
Yeah.
I'm more excited. Like, I'm excited about the topic because I feel like families really need this based on what I'm seeing in my practice and based on just my 20-year experience as a therapist. We really need this. But more important, I'm just excited I get to spend some time with you doing good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Because I mean, it's like, and so speaking like on this situation, I'm thinking about this, and I was looking at this. So first, I looked at it from the position of the guy in the green, the victim, and his frustration as a father, of allegedly not being able to see his child. Right, I understand that. This is my kid. I can't see my kid. You're already mad because he's with the woman that maybe he has an interest in this woman. He's kind of conquered you in a way. He's taken your woman and your child. So you're kind of fighting for any piece of dignity you
Oh.
can have. Now, I thought about that, right? But there's also the other side.
Okay, wait. Okay, so before you get into the other side, I'm really having empathy for this biological father. Gee, he lost his woman. Seemed like he lost his child. I can't imagine what that like. That's
What's it?
gotta be very sad.
Well, I'll just tell you the truth. The reason once I felt the pain of trying to raise a child that did not live with me, and knowing I only had opportunities to be with the child if the mother
Yeah.
allowed it, and that other men were around my child more than me. I just remember thinking, I'm not gonna have a child I'm not gonna have a child unless I'm 100% sure that this is a woman I'm gonna marry and stay married to. Like that's a big if.
Yeah.
Not just the marriage, but to stay married to, because people get divorced all the time and all that. And I don't think a lot of people hear from these men that are experiencing extreme pain from losing their children.
I imagine. And then even if there's bad blood between the biological mom and looks like the stepdad, let's just call him the stepdad or the new boyfriend, if there's bad blood in there, that child is listening to conversations going on in that house where they trashing that bio father.
Hmm.
And so that makes a dynamic between him and his child. Can you imagine that?
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
overcome so much for your little time that you have with your child, and you should stay connected. I mean, I know biological fathers want to stay connected. If they're not the
Mhm.
custodial parent, they want to stay connected to their children, know what's going on with them, and care for them in the way that they can. But it's difficult if they don't live with you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and I would imagine some people would assume that because he has a new wife that he's completely over that old situation. But anybody who
No.
knows anything about the real world knows that that's just not the case. Like people move on to the best available option. Sometimes they only move on because they can't have the person that they really want. Right. So you don't know if there's a jealousy factor going on. There's definitely kind of a territorialism, right? And if you look at the way these guys behave kind of in the video, it's very territorial, like I'm in your face, kind of aggressive posture they were taking with each other. So I imagine that there's some of these hurt masculine feelings kind of there. Now I think that with the guy who had the gun, I empathize with him to one extent. Like in Texas, they have really strong stand your ground laws. I know a lot of people feel like this is instantly premeditated murder, but I did some
Oh.
research on it, and again, no charges have been filed. None. And there are people, they have the castle doctrine. The castle doctrine says if you step up in somebody's property, like they have a right to brandish a weapon. They do. They
Yeah,
have the,
but it seemed like he has evidence that he was supposed to be there to pick him up. So if you invite someone to your house to pick up your child, here, come and pick up the child. Come pick up whatever. They're not trespassing at that point. Like, how did he know to show up there at whatever time to go pick his child up?
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I just I don't like that.
I mean, I don't agree. I mean, I don't think. I think pulling out a gun. I don't think people really consider the finality of pulling a trigger. You know, like when you pull a trigger on somebody, they're gone, and you know you hit them in the right spot, they are literally dead. And there's an image of him standing over the guy's dead body, like he just literally took this dude out,
Oh,
and he's arguing with the guy's wife. And the guy's wife is saying, you know, we recorded everything, blah blah blah. And he's like, he said, I told y'all, you know, he had the
oh
country. He said, I
gosh.
told y'all, do not come here. I told y'all to leave. I did not want to do any of this. He said, I told y'all to leave. And again, it's not. It wasn't the best way to handle it, right? He could have walked in the house and called the cops, right?
Yeah.
He could have done that.
That man
But
wasn't threatening to him. He wasn't threatening him on his property.
well, remember that the man that had the gun was his ex wife. I think is a judge, so he knows his rights. So I assume,
Well,
and
it's an ex-wife, so
yeah, that's true.
we don't
But
know what that's like.
yeah, but in
I imagine that relationship wasn't healthy.
well, you never know though. I mean, people get divorced. Everybody gets divorced, so it's not even like it doesn't means anything that you're a good or bad person.
Well, I
But
didn't
I
say
think
good or bad person. I just said that wasn't a good situation.
right,
Clearly.
obviously for both
Hmm.
of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, but the thing is, you know, in Texas they have laws that say, look, somebody is in your property and you ask them to leave, and they do not leave, you can pull out a weapon. And I assume that when they say you can pull out your weapon, then you can be prepared to use it.
Hmm.
And it ain't right. It ain't right. I mean, it's not ideal. It wasn't optimal. And what was interesting was when the guy did pull out the weapon, the other guy didn't back down. He didn't
Yeah. Why
respond.
didn't he leave? I would have left.
Yeah, he.
Okay. I see. This is getting to a point where we are not being. This is not productive. I'm out of here.
Well, that goes to a
You
bigger
know.
point, and that goes to a bigger point. You know, the one you just made about not being afraid to be the bigger person.
Hmm.
I think that's critical when you're dealing with complex family situations, baby daddy, baby mama drama. Somebody in the chat actually mentioned, you know, what's best for the kids. And what I have observed is that a lot of people, when they get into this back and forth, fighting over their rights as parents or whatever, ain't nobody thinking about the children,
No one's thinking about him.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about the children, you know, being the most macho man in the room is not as important as making sure that your child is good and that you are able to see them again.
Hmm.
You know, and so I think that's what's interesting too is that I've observed, like I know, for example, without making it too personal, I think we have a great relationship, like you know, with our kid's father.
Uh-huh.
You know, and the part of that is because all of us understand we all have to compromise. Can't no,
Yeah.
no, there's nobody that can always get everything that they want. You have to factor in the feelings and the thoughts of other people. And you know, and I can pick up the phone and call them anytime, you know, when it comes to we're dealing with the kids, because we both agreed that no matter how any of us feel, what matters most is making sure that the kids are good.
Yeah, it's very damaging for children to have the adults who are supposed to be adults sit there and watch them just argue like that and not get along. It's psychologically damages them because they're thinking, gosh, nothing's stable here. I don't have anybody thinking about me. I love all of these people. Think about it. You love your father, you love your mother, you're somewhat connected to this new person that your mom or your dad had brought in, and you're conflicted, and it puts the children in the middle. It's like, oh my goodness, I have created this drama in the family. If it wasn't for me, none of this would be happening. So children blame themselves for that. Can you imagine walking around thinking these adults can't get along just because of me?
It's got to be embarrassing, you
Yeah.
know, and it's got to be just painful, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that for kids, it's just wrong. I mean, you got to find a way out of that. You got to find a
Hmm.
way to, you know, and it's hard though because sometimes you're dealing with just a complete asshole on the other side of the fence,
Yeah.
you know, or maybe you're dealing with people that are being completely immature and unreasonable, right?
Hmm.
And it's hard because if you think of maturity, think of it like I think of like the maturity bucket as being like paying for the tab at a restaurant, right? So imagine if you go to a real expensive restaurant, because breakups and divorces are real expensive. That's why you should do everything you can to avoid them. But let's say that
Hmm.
it happens, it's real expensive. So imagine you go to a real expensive restaurant and the tab comes and it's like $132. And everybody else at the table says, I'm not paying nothing. Or somebody's like, I'm paying for the water. I'm gonna throw $2 down for the water, and that's it. And so you got a $132 tab, and ideally everybody should split the tab. Each person, there's three of us, all of us pay $40, $41. We good, right? But no, you're sitting down with some immature people who
Well, yeah.
who are broke, right? No, let me finish the analogy.
Okay.
So like broke, except it's not financially broke. They're emotionally broken, so they have nothing to add to the tab. So you have to pay the whole tab because nobody else will pay because somebody's got to pay their bill. And when it comes to raising these kids, somebody got to pay the damn bill. And sometimes, while it would be ideal to kind of spread the compromise and maturity amongst everybody, sometimes you're dealing with a really immature person. Like sometimes you have to realize you had a child with a woman who is impossible, who's absolutely vindictive and nasty and trifling and mean and manipulative or whatever. Or you got to deal with the fact that you got a baby daddy. You got a baby daddy who is a piece of crap. Or maybe and then here's the other part, and then I'm done. I want to hear your thoughts on this. But seriously, then you're bringing other people into the equation. So y'all two already have your complex relationship, and you got the child. Now you bringing in, you know, her boyfriend and your girlfriend, and one of them might be crazy. So it takes a lot. When they talk about it takes a village to raise a child, it really takes a village of sane people to raise a healthy child. And a lot of people out here ain't sane. What do you think?
Okay, so this is why lawyers make a lot of money. I've seen lawyers, they'll just be licking their lips and rubbing their hands together. Ooh, I got a live one. They love playing into these emotions because no one pays the bill at the table, and you get a lawyer in there to try to split the bill up. You pay for this, you pay for that, and a lot of times it can go into arbitration for years with this bill that's due. Meanwhile, your child is growing up.
Oof.
It's awful.
And your child is traumatized. And they're
Yeah.
having to go see people like Dr. Alicia when they get older because their childhood was so messed up.
But let me tell you, I've seen a lot of children who are where their parents are going through a divorce. It's so funny. Like parents go through a divorce and they'll drop their kid off to me and say, fix my kid. My kid's acting out. And then talking to the child, I'm like, I need to talk to your parents. It always floats back up to the parents. You two need to stop it and get along because it's just damaging. This child can't sleep at night, can't concentrate on their grades, has crippling anxiety, doesn't want to invite their friends over because it's so embarrassing. You know, um, is scared because they don't know. Every time there's a pickup or a drop off, they're petrified and scared, sweating and stuff because they know that these adults are not going to get along every single time. It's really awful from the perspective of the child. And I've also seen children who will look at situations like that and manipulate it. They're like, ooh, so I know my parents don't talk to each other, so I can tell my dad anything and tell my mom anything, and I can get double, whammy. I mean, it's endless.
That's like the creation of just highly dysfunctional people.
Yeah, they have.
Like that's probably where people like the Joker come from, where like the villain in superhero movies. Like you really, because think about that. The child's like 10, and they're already looking at these adults, and they're saying, "Okay, I can't depend on the adults around me." But I can use them. I can manipulate them to get extra,
children do
new
it.
sneakers at Christmas and all that. It just doesn't seem like a good foundation for adulthood. But by the way, everybody, you are watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. This is where my wife and I get together and we lay against our pillows and talk about issues that are happening in the world, hopefully in a way that makes everybody better at the end. Do us a favor real quick, if you could. Everybody take 1 second. Please hit the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe. If you know any crazy baby mamas or crazy baby daddies or people dealing with baby mama, baby daddy drama, feel free to share this video. We're not just speaking from opinion. Alicia's licensed in this, and we have dealt with this kind of stuff ourselves as well. So we're just here to have this conversation in a way that will benefit you. So please hit the thumbs up button. Also, on December 5th, Dr. Alicia and I are co-teaching actually a class on drama-free families. That means having the right communication, dealing with, minimizing baby mama, baby daddy drama, and all this other stuff, and the finances, all the things that come up. We kind of discuss this and break this down in a candid way. So if you'd like to join us, we're doing a weekend deep dive, intensive, theory based. This is research based. This is not just us giving our opinions. Feel free to take a look. You can go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram. Follow her on Instagram, and in the bio on Instagram, you can find a link to the class. There's a big black Cyber Monday discount, 70% off on like a bundle pack if you want to go take a look. So feel free to go take a look. Coaching with Dr. Alicia is where you can follow her. All right, so let me bring something up here, babe. I want to ask you about this. You talked about how the lawyers, and I've mentioned this too in a lot of the when I talk about wealth, how lawyers make a ton of money when you can't keep your stuff right. Like when you can't keep your stuff right, the courts and the lawyers are like, it's like if you ever have a situation like where you're a kid and you can't get along with your siblings and you're arguing, and then the parent comes in, and then they just take over.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, you're gonna get the cake and you're gonna have the ice cream, right? You know what I mean? Like they just come, so lawyers kind of, the courts kind of do that, right? They're like, if you can't keep your shit together, we're going to come in and we're going to force the issue. This happens like when somebody dies and they don't have an estate plan or they don't have a will, and the court comes in and they say, okay, you get this, you get this, you get this, like a parent.
Well, it's not even just that. It's when when the siblings can't decide who gets what because mama died or grandma died. They can't even work together to uh, distribute the property or distribute the money or distribute everything evenly. They can't get on the same table, and that's when you lose. And I know a lot of courts have GALs, guardian ad litem is what they're called. I've seen divorce cases where they've had to put that person in place because nobody could get along. Not the lawyers couldn't. The lawyers get sucked into it as well. On the father's side, on the mother's side, they go back and forth and they can't come up with a decision. So the judge will appoint a GAL, guardian ad litem, to try to figure out what's best for the child. Believe it or not, I've worked with several GALs in my practice, they lean on me as the therapist. Tell me what's going on. What do you think should be happening? Is there parental alienation happening? Are they compliant? I've had to actually submit documents to court just so that I can weigh in on what's best for the child. Really fascinating.
And the thing is that this is why things like communication and healthy relationships are really important, because it's costly. Like you'll lose a lot of your family wealth. There's a whole documentary Dr. Drew did called Divorce Corp, where he literally talked about how there's a $10 billion a year industry of lawyers and judges in courts who are making tons of money because people's families are falling apart. People can't keep their, so what that says to me, right, is when you talk about things like wealth, which is kind of, that's where my expertise is. If you want to talk about protecting family wealth, you have to learn how to have healthy relationships with the people around you, and also selectively pick the people that you have around you. Like you can't let everybody be your baby daddy. Everybody ain't qualified to enter into your vagina. Everybody ain't qualified for you to try to lay up with them, because when babies come and you're dealing with a crazy lunatic on the other side of that transaction, it's a mess.
Yeah. Also, I make a lot of money because they can't get along, and I don't want to. I want to be able to work myself out of a job. I want to be able to move on and go and do something else. But no, with cases like this, and it got to the point where the GAL was working with me, and she's like, I really enjoy working with you. I'm going to give you all my cases. So I was working with all the sticky situations happening in court, and there was many, especially during the pandemic. There was quite a few.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet that was
really
stressful.
fascinating. She's like, I like working with you, Alicia. I'm going to send you some more people. And it was a lot of people, a lot of families dealing with it. And it's all races, but I think there's something a little extra with Black people, of course. They can't get along, but it is all races, that's dealing with this clearly.
Well, when I think about this situation with the shooting, I mean, obviously this is extreme, but I was sort of looking on the internet, and I saw, you see all kinds of stuff like people talk about this rapper, the baby, and some crazy stuff going on with his
Oh
baby's
yeah.
mama and stuff like that. Which I'm not going to talk about that today, but but it's almost like to me the solution that I came to was I decided a long time ago to be very picky about who I let into my life. Also, the same way you look around a room before you walk in a room, if you think that there's danger there, I look around a situation before I walk into a situation. So, for example, when I wanted to marry you, I was very attracted to you, but I observed the dynamics of that situation before I walked into it. Like I looked at, okay, she has 3 kids, that's fine, but are they well behaved? If they weren't well behaved, then that's a problem, right? Is this woman gonna respect me? She has a mother. What's her mother like? Is the mother overbearing to the point where it's gonna be stressful for me? What's the father of the kids like? Like our kids, I'm so proud of them, and our kid's father is such a great dude,
Mm-hmm.
and I love I love working with him, and the way we frame it with the kids is, you're lucky. You have 2 dads that will go to war for you, that will defend you to the ends of the earth. So you're actually privileged
Mm-hmm.
because of what you have, not in any way handicapped by being, by your parents having the divorce, anything like that. So I really would say to anybody out there, the best way to deal with baby daddy, baby mama drama is to do your best to prevent it.
Mm-hmm.
Carefully vet the people that you let into your life, that you lay down with, because a lot of times, people will tell me about some chaos going on with an ex, and I'll be like, but wait a minute, weren't you madly in love with this person 2 years ago? You
Well,
know,
things change.
things do change.
What
They
a
do
difference a
change.
day makes sometimes.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
No, you were going to say something about divorce court and lawyers. I really
Oh,
want to hear
nothing.
what you had to say.
The lawyers just get paid. Like
Okay.
when we when we can't keep our situation straight, the government steps in and says, I'm gonna fix it for you, but it's gonna cost you money. It's like that Kevin Hart show with Wesley Snipes called True Story. Anybody watching that new that really great
You keep watching it without me,
drama?
boys.
I know,
Would
babe.
you let me catch up to you so we can watch the show together? Stop going ahead.
Yeah, well, there's this. For those
You
who don't
can't.
know, I was real happy to see my man Wesley Snipes like out here really like
I love him.
getting the success he deserves, because Wesley Snipes is one of the good ones. He's a big fan of Powernomics and Dr. Claude Anderson. That's why I've always loved Wesley Snipes. But anyway, so with True Story, pay attention. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. So the way it starts off is there's an unfortunate situation with a dead body, and a guy comes along named Ari, a shady, underworld guy, comes along and he says, think of me like your guardian angel. I'm gonna fix all of this for you. But the problem is Ari has a fee.
It's a price.
Right.
Yeah.
Ari charges a very high price to fix it. Well, the government's kind of like Ari. The government says, okay, yeah, you can't handle your relationship. We'll fix it, but it's gonna cost you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the best approach is, one, find a way to fix your shit. Like if you're stuck in a bad set of relationships with difficult people, there are therapists out here you can work with. There are books you can read. There's training you can get simply on how to communicate. Like there are people that have been through whatever you're going through, and if you try to do it yourself, you're gonna be like I am when I try to fix stuff by myself around the house. You know what happens when I try to fix stuff? It breaks.
You're better than you think, but yeah, it does. It doesn't do well sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage people to invest in healthy relationships the same way you invest in losing weight, the same way you might invest in getting a better job, the same way you might invest in getting a side hustle. I believe in investing in healthy relationships because that gives you peace of mind. That's something money can't buy.
Yeah. Well, the big part of investing in healthy relationship is just investing in yourself emotionally. It's doing that work, and it is being in tune with yourself, being centered, all of that great stuff, all that woo woo stuff that I like. That's why I go on my spiritual retreats. And I do all of that where I turn everything off and I tune in to me. That's the first step for healthy relationships, because you got to be able to reflect and say, why am I attracting this person? Why am I attracting these types of people to me? Why was
Mm,
I blindsided? Why did I not see that coming? Because I think a lot of people go into relationships really thinking they got a jewel, Really think, and they probably do, but things just can unravel, and sometimes um losing your spouse or losing your children in that way, it brings out the worst in you.
Well,
You'll, you're not at your best.
who was it? TD Jakes always said that you're not, when you date somebody, you're not dating the person, you're dating their representative.
Well, at
Like
the
in the
beginning,
beginning,
yeah,
yeah, in the
you know.
beginning, he says, in the beginning, you're not really even getting a glimpse into who that person really is. You're actually just seeing who they're pretending to be, because maybe the man is trying to get you to have sex with him, or maybe the woman's trying to get you to commit and to think that she's a wonderful person. Because we all can be, most of us can be wonderful people if we're really focused on it. But
Mhm.
what I found is that um, I use a tactic I learned in statistics, actually. In
Mhm.
statistics, you're a statistician, so you get this. If you really want to understand how something works, you got to collect data.
I'm sorry.
If you want
Say that again.
if you want to understand how something works, you have to collect data,
So what do you mean? Say
meaning
more
that
about that.
you need more observations to understand the underlying
Oh,
dynamics of that
okay.
which you're dealing with, right? So everybody has inner workings, right? Like you as a human being have a process, that just a way you respond to things, right? You have
Mhm.
ways that you behave when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're pissed, all that, right? And in order for me to really understand all of that and to get a complete picture of you, I
Mhm.
need data. I need to see you in a lot of different situations
Mhm.
over a long period of time.
Yeah,
I
so
could
you got to take it slow. You got to date
boom,
and take it very
you gotta
slow.
take your time. That's my
Uh-huh.
point.
Okay.
Stop
So
let
that's
stop
data.
Yeah, stop trying to
Mhm.
like form long stop trying to be with somebody forever when you known them for 2 weeks. All you know after 2 weeks maybe is that the sex was good. That's all you really know. You don't really know a tenth of what you think you know.
Well, it may or may not be good. And how it is at the beginning. Once you get to know them better and you like someone better, then all of that other stuff falls apart, falls in line. But after a couple of months, once you get your data, you need to believe the data that you get. Don't feel
Mm,
like you're gonna change somebody.
that's true too.
Oh,
That's true too.
I like this, but I'm gonna change that about him.
Oh
No,
no.
just you've got to learn how to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say if you can't, what Chuck D always said, if you can't change the people around you, you got to change the people around you. And so,
Right.
ideally, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So rather than me changing or getting rid of a person in my life that isn't healthy, it's obviously best to just avoid that person in the first place. See, look for the signs. And I really almost feel like I know when I made my mistakes in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
it was usually because I moved too fast. Because you have a good 2 weeks and you like, okay, this is great. I met the one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't ever say you met the one when you know that person 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, you got swept up into the beginnings of it, which is
Yeah,
fun, which is cool. I say let yourself indulge in that, but keep it into perspective, you
well, enjoy
know?
your experience. I mean, but just
Yeah.
know whenever you let somebody in your life, you're bringing in all their energy, right? So if you run into a situation like this one,
Mm-hmm.
where you're talking about two guys who were both willing to fight to the death
Mm-hmm.
to deal with a domestic dispute, the question becomes, was that what you signed up for? Is that what you wanted? Because now the woman who, now pay attention now, look at it from the perspective of the mother. So the guy in the green shows up saying, I want to see my son. The guy in the black says, leave my house or I'm gonna shoot you. The guy in the black wins the fight, and next thing you know, he's standing over the other guy's dead body. And and so it's like, so now you have a woman who is in a really tough situation with her child. She's got to
Mm-hmm.
sit down and talk to her son about the fact that her son's father is dead. Her son may hate her for the rest of his life. You
Mm-hmm.
got my daddy killed because you don't even know what the relationship with the son is with the son and this guy. I'm gonna
Well,
tell you
we
a lot.
already know that's not gonna be
Right, a
good.
lot of boys are very protective of their mothers and don't even want another man in the house. In fact, with our three children, two girls and a boy, the boy was the one that took the longest for me to form a relationship with, and I
Mm-hmm.
understood that. I understood that it took 2 3 years before he really wanted to talk to me, and But now we're cool. Now we're super cool. But I had to earn that trust.
I'm kind of jealous. I feel like you spent more time with him this weekend than I did.
Well, that's my homeboy.
I'm sorry, you don't tell me anything. I'm trying juicing you for information.
Yeah,
Let me know
well,
what's
I'm not.
going
No,
on.
no, no. Men do not share the
What's
secrets.
going on in the life
That
of
that
my
that's that's
baby?
man talk, baby. Nope, 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 no. I will not betray his trust. But my point is to say that. So
Yes.
think about this from the mother's perspective.
Oh yeah.
So the mother is like, your dad got killed, and the son's like, you
There
got
was an
you
altercation.
got dad killed because you're out here bringing these other guys into the house. You know,
We don't know what he's gonna think,
right?
but
I'm gonna tell you like this. Let me
he's
just say,
definitely gonna feel guilt. He may feel guilty.
he could feel
He
guilty.
could feel guilty himself.
Well, you know what? There's going to be a lot of therapists that are going to make a lot of money
Oh, that
helping his son
whole
sort through the fact that his father got shot on his front porch.
yeah. I mean, that's interesting. You talked about the Chuck D. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. But I don't even know if you can change the people around you, because all you're going to do is go from one situation to the next unless you can be reflective and start changing yourself. If you don't change
Mm.
yourself, you can never change the people around you. And I don't mean that you can change the faces, but the types of people that are around you that are bad and toxic and not good, like this situation here.
Mhm.
She could break up with this guy right there in the black. She can go on and date yet another man who will do the exact same thing.
She
It's
might.
something with her
Well, remember,
too.
that's true. And remember,
And
though,
she's picking these people.
that's true. But then sometimes there are people who like the idea of a man willing to defend the household and stuff like that. So,
That's not manhood.
well,
To come out with a gun and shoot the father, that's not
well, now
manhood.
shooting the father, yeah,
That's not what men
that's
do.
and that's the things, right? So think about this also. She might, in addition to having to explain to her son why his father's dead, her boyfriend might be in prison for a long time, right? Or whatever he is, right? Now, I don't know, she's gonna move on and just live her life or whatever, but you just think about how hard life is gonna be for everybody involved. The person that's probably luckiest in this whole scenario is the dead dude, because everybody else is gonna be tortured forever. You
I'm
know,
I'm sure in his, well, I guess, if he's moved on to another life, to another, he's transitioned, of course, but he's not going to be able to be involved in his child's life like he really wants to. This is a father who really wants to
wait,
be involved. I'm talking
huh?
about the dead father.
Oh yeah,
This was somebody before he passed on, wanted to be in his child's life,
yeah.
and was probably very frustrated. I'm thinking of what all has happened between the three of them before leading up to this incident.
Well, one thing that people don't talk enough about is how many fathers are victims of parental alienation.
It's domestic violence. That's domestic violence, to put a biological, non-custodial biological parent in a situation like that.
Mm,
It is domestic violence, and it's not only psychologically damaging to the child. It is to the isolated parent. They
mm-hmm.
they are hurting too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, losing your kids is painful, and I don't. I personally will say, if I was young, I would. One way. This is just advice for the guys.
Mhm.
If you're vetting through the type of woman you want to be with, ask her about the relationship between a father and the child, and check what her value system is. Especially if her own father was there for her and stuff like that, she's more likely to understand the importance of that relationship. Which means that if you are ever estranged, or if she's mad at you, or she doesn't want to be with you anymore, she's gonna always respect that relationship. Because I don't care. This is just my 2 cents from what I have seen.
Maybe.
If the mother doesn't respect the biological father, then the child won't respect the father. So then the father is coming in and dealing
Mhm.
with a disrespectful child because the mother didn't do her job and laid the fucking foundation. Excuse my French, I didn't mean to cuss. But I think this
Mhm.
is serious. Like, I think this is really, like, I see a lot of people that go through that. And it's so everybody, I don't think you can put all these baby daddy, baby mama problems on the men or just on the women. I think it's like all of us figuring out how we can create an ecosystem where everybody's healthy.
Mhm. Yeah, and so the mother is disrespectful to the biological father, and so the children will follow suit. And
Mm.
and and as a retaliation, sometimes the father would be disrespectful. Well, depending on who has custody. I think that the custodial parent has way more influence. And it's not always the mom who's the custodian, but normally it is. But it's not always. So sometimes the biological father, who's the custodial father, can also do the same thing to the mother too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Can
that's true.
isolate them and make them feel like they're less than, especially if there's a money differential. So suppose
Mm,
one
that's
household
true.
they living up large, and another household they're living, meager meager
Mm,
lifestyle. I mean, how's that for a child to transition from one household where everything is going well and we got lots of resources, and then you go to another household where things are kind of murky over there. It's a
yeah,
tough transition.
yeah, that's a tough one
Yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just I think I almost feel like baby mama, baby daddy drama is just one of the most stressful things ever,
Hmm.
for everybody, and what I would encourage everybody to consider is, you know, two things. One, you have to put the kids' needs first, period.
Hmm.
Like you have to be willing to stand down, put your ego to the side, sometimes put up with things you don't like. Um, but then at the same time, you want to dance with people that are doing the same dance. You want to play the game with people
Yeah.
that are playing the same game. So, and what I mean by that is if I show up and I'm playing basketball and you playing football, it's not going to be a very good game,
No.
right? So if you are a kind of person who is willing to make the mature sacrifices necessary for the betterment of the child, only bring people in your life who think the same way. That's it. Seriously, like I mean, bring people in your life who also get that. It's I've seen it work. That's the thing. So because if I show up and I'm ready to compromise and you're ready to compromise, and we both have an agreement on what the top priority is, which is the child, and we're both putting our ego to the side to make that work, and I'm willing to even respect you, in a way to make sure that the child is healthy, because that's going to make the child happy. If they really truly believe, if the child really believes all the adults are getting along, that's what makes the child happiest.
It really does.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that scenario is better than even having a mother and father in the home who can't get along, who are
Mm.
fighting with each other. Like if they can't get along, having that healthy, peaceful environment for a child is utmost important, no matter how it's structured. Of course, that's our debate going on, but the
Well,
data supports me.
well,
You know,
what yeah, I think there's different
yeah.
ways to skin the cat, right? And to me,
Hmm.
as long as the cat gets skinned,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. And one thing my parents did that I will always thank them for to this day, I
Okay.
don't care how much it fits into a textbook or not, but one thing my parents did is they never ever argued in front of the kids.
Huh.
And if you ask my sister and my brother, we will all agree we love that. We love the fact that we
They
knew,
never argued.
yeah, we saw them. They would disagree,
Okay.
but usually one of them would stand down. My mother
Oh,
or my
okay.
father would stand down. And
So you saw conflict, but you didn't see
I
argument.
saw minimal conflict,
Uh-huh.
but because usually what they would do is they would intentionally take their disagreement to the bedroom.
Okay. I like that, but at the same time, I think it's really cool for them to, and I think this is what they've done because I've been around them enough. I think it's good for children to see healthy conflict in the house so that the children, when they grow up and become adults, they can be modeled on, oh wow, healthy conflict. You think one way, I think a different way. What are we gonna do now? Are we gonna yell at each other and throw things at each other? Or are we gonna listen to each other nice and calmly, come up with a compromise? I'm gonna see them be flexible. You have
Yeah.
to let your children see healthy conflict in the house. I mean, some people just like all conflict is bad, and it's not. It's okay. So you think this way, I think something different. How are we going to be flexible with each other? How are we going to compromise? That's
Well,
what should be shown to children.
yeah. Well, it's funny the way you describe healthy conflict. I don't even see it as conflict. I see that as
Uh-huh.
compromise. I see that as a conversation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I so good. That's
yeah,
better. That's better than what I
yeah.
said. Hmm.
A conversation about compromise
Hmm.
and agreeing to disagree. I love those all day. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Conflict. when you're barking at somebody, screaming and hollering, yelling over
That's
people,
terrible.
whatever, arguing. Some
Yeah.
people don't like all that arguing,
Yeah.
and I don't. I don't really.
Nobody likes you don't like arguing, boys.
No, I don't. I don't. I want peace. Like I like peace. Like
Sometimes I think you like to argue.
well, I like to make my point of view clear. I like my position is I want sovereignty. Look, I'm gonna think what I think. People that
How
listen to
you gonna have sovereignty and you married?
no people that listen to my podcast know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
It's like, look,
okay. I don't know about
what,
those
what,
people, but
what,
I'm
what,
talking about me and you.
well, Caesar, no, I think sovereignty is okay, even no matter what situation you're in. I think everybody has a right to be who they want to be. Like, remember, the women's lib movement was all about women gaining sovereignty. So if women can have sovereignty, then men can too.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
but by the way, everybody, so if you guys want to see a quick little quip of this conflict we started off talking about
Oh,
this thing that happened in Texas, and we kind of jumped into some other stuff. I'll show you the clip again in a second before we head on out. But by the way, on December 5th, Alicia and I are doing a one-time deep dive intensive on drama-free families. This is where we break down how to really have a family where there's minimal negative conflict. That includes how to communicate. Like, what does science show us in terms of how to properly communicate where you're not screaming, hollering, and talking over each other? What does it mean to bring in to blend a family where you got kids, from different parties or whatever, and different baby mama, baby daddy drama situations that you want to minimize. Also, we're going to talk about even things like parental alienation. What if you are the parent that feels like you're being blocked out of your child's life? What are some ways to kind of deal with that? So if you want to know more about it, go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram. You can follow Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Click the link in the bio, and there's a link to a Black Friday discount. I think everything. I think the total value of everything that's offered in the bundle is like $800, but it's like literally reduced to like $200 or something like that.
oh wow,
So
that's pretty
it's a
cool.
pretty massive discount. So feel free to go take a look. Go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia or coachingwithdralicia.com or at Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram, and you can click the link in the bio. So here's
I
oh,
wanted
go
to
ahead, babe.
comment on that because I think it's so important. We have the holidays coming up and we just had Thanksgiving. We all getting together. And I think like with Christmas coming up and New Year's and all of these, I think people are just getting pandemic fatigue. We're all just like, forget it. We're going to hang out together for these holidays.
Yeah.
It's like, it's important for you to have a certain mindset because we've all been in our silos for such a long time. Now we're all getting together. And so it's just making sure that situation goes as smoothly as possible because it brings up a lot of stuff.
That's so
Being around
true.
people at the holidays. I mean, Christmas is supposed to be a joyous occasion, but it ain't joyous for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Right?
and I was really surprised to hear that
Yeah.
because I can say when I grew up, Christmas and Thanksgiving was always great. Every one of
Yeah.
them. Like, we never had a bad Christmas, never had a bad,
Mhm.
and that's where I look back and started appreciating what the sacrifice my parents did. My
Yeah.
dad went out of his way to make Christmas amazing for us. Lights and music and playing the Jackson Five. Remember that? The Jackson Five.
Oh, we're playing that on
Wanna
constant
wish
rotation.
everybody a Merry Christmas and a groovy New Year. Yeah,
That's so funny.
yeah, like Stevie Wonder, one
Yes.
little Christmas tree standing alone.
You
And,
got a great singing voice,
waiting
boys.
for
Oh, we got to break
someone
out the
to come
karaoke
by.
again.
Yeah, well,
You
you
just
know what?
reminded me. We're going to bring out the karaoke and we're going to sing some more.
Oh, we gotta sing One Little Christmas Tree. I used to feel so bad for that Christmas tree. I'd be like, damn, don't nobody want that poor tree. Anyway, but yeah, so it's like, so I think with the holidays, it's kind of unfortunate that it is painful for some people, and we do have some pain in our family because my Uncle Charles died right during the week of Thanksgiving, right? And so
It
my
was October. No, you're
no, it was
right.
November. Yeah,
It was
it was his
November.
mother,
Yeah.
my grandmother's birthday actually,
Oh,
and a few
jeez.
days before my mother's birthday, and his wife's
Oh, my
birthday was like the same
gosh.
week, and his wedding anniversary is the same day. So literally all those things happen in one week, right? So you suddenly take a bunch of positive events, and they suddenly flip negative.
Yeah, you remember every year. Gosh, I wish so and so was here, and I wish this person was here. Yeah,
Yeah,
you miss the people you love.
yeah. But
Hmm.
there's the best thing I would say to people is that there are tools out there to help you find that happiness again, right? Whether you're talking about holiday happiness or a positive relationship with family. And so I would encourage you to investigate what those tools are, and don't get caught up in the nonsense. There's a lot of immaturity out here. There's a lot of people out here that don't care about kids. And I personally would say you want to align yourself with people who kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my 2 cents. Did you have anything else you want to say?
No, I mean that's good. And you think about the holidays, like alcohol, drugs, and alcohol usually
Oh
introduced, and
God.
you got your drunk uncles and drunk cousins and people coming together. So things it can unravel really quickly. So I really think that talking about this topic and having a certain a set of mind, things to think about and tools to use, I think is very important.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I see that there were some people in the chat that were debating, whether or not this whole attack with this guy was self-defense or not. The video is available online. It's in Lubbock, Texas, Lubbock. So you can look it up and watch the video for yourself and make a decision as to whether or not it was premeditated murder or if it was self-defense. I've seen both sides.
It sounds like premeditated murder to me. I'm sorry. I think I just hope the justice system does this part in this, because I'm certain if you pull out previous record, you come to my house, I'm gonna shoot you. I don't know. I just feel like that's just terrible. I'm certain that's what they got. Messages and evidence.
It was sad to watch a person die, and when I see something like that, I think about the kid, the son, and
oh my god,
again, I think about the people who are not on the screen. Like two guys on the screen. I see one guy who probably felt threatened to some extent. He didn't have to come out with a gun. He made that mistake. But when somebody's trying to grab the gun away from you, I can only imagine that he was probably feeling like a heightened sense of like concern.
Yeah.
That look, I pulled a gun on this dude and he's stepping in my face and he's trying to grab the gun away from me. Oh, right now it's either him or me. Right? I can totally get that. But at the same time, did you really need to pull a gun out? Did you really need to bring a gun onto the porch? Was there another way to handle it? I think the answer is clearly yes. Now, the guy in the green, same thing. Did you really have to go in there, go to the house and get in people's faces? Did you really have to go, like, or when the dude walks out with the gun, did you have to walk up on him and then try to pull the gun away from him? Did you really have to challenge him like that, and say, you better use it, motherfucker? Well, then now again, this is my thing. Like when you're talking about surviving in volatile environments, the ability to check the temperature of the situation is critically important. That's an important part of your social intelligence. So if you're checking the temperature and you're like, okay, this guy is really feeling some kind of way. He's clearly got a chip on his shoulder. He walked out with it. He walked out strapped. I'm not really trying to test his gangster at that point. Like that's the thing. That's where when you talk about toxic masculinity, that's where it becomes toxic, because there's some situations where you don't test another man's gangster, because now you backed him into a corner, and y'all know what happens to an animal when it's backed in a corner. They're gonna chop off their nose to spite their face. They will chop off their own limb just to prove to you that they ain't scared to cut their arm off.
Yeah, I really wish people would watch this video in its entirety, because I was just really appalled by the fact that this man was shot and no one came to his aid. It was just like, call 911. Like, it seemed like a bunch of people should have been over there trying to stop the bleeding, trying to give him CPR.
Oh no, that was a whole nother. That was a whole
like,
nother level of dysfunction.
Yeah, it was just like his whole entire body was laying there on the front porch and no one was addressing it. Not even the lady who was filming. Well, who kept saying call 911.
But she eventually did realize that calling 911 was probably the thing.
Yeah, but she was way too calm for me. Well, like, I would have been freaking out. I would have gotten out of that car. Well, I guess you can't get out of the car. If she had gotten out of the car to save her man, she would have been shot. It's just where's the dignity for a human life? A sentient being right there. It's like no one cared.
Well,
that's the part that was really troubling.
That whole video across the board was troubling.
Yeah.
Like, you got, like, I see it almost like a dramatic play with several actors. You have shooter, you have victim, you have woman standing there watching, you have the little boy who's not in the video, you have the mother, the wife of the guy in the green, of the victim, who's sitting in the car again, as you mentioned, calmly, like arguing with the guy who just murdered her husband. And then eventually she's like, "Oh, call 911."
And
Really?
and can you imagine if that man who shot that guy, if he gets off, that in a way is saying that the biological father was wrong. And can you imagine as a child walking around thinking my biological father really messed up and did something wrong and got himself killed?
Oh,
Can you imagine? So that child is now thinking, okay, if my father is imperfect and does something wrong, he's going to internalize that and think there's something wrong with him.
mm,
There's
yeah.
something wrong with me because my father did not make smart moves. So how can I be smart?
Well, I try to imagine that. I imagine God. I mean, I get it almost makes my stomach turn. But I
Yeah.
imagine if my mother was divorced
Oh my gosh.
and she's, in some situation with a new guy, got a new boyfriend or whatever, and my father, who I love, I don't give a shit how messed up the world thinks he is. He's my daddy. If he's doing right by me, I love him.
Okay.
Right? He gets into a conflict with this new guy, and the new guy murders my father.
You'd be so mad at your
Oh,
mom. Your
I
mom would be it.
I would be bad at my mom, and
Yeah.
the new guy, he better sleep with one eye open.
Oh,
That's the thing you
interesting.
got to worry because remember the movie The Godfather was about that. Part
Yes.
two of the Godfather was
Oh.
remember gangsters get this. What the guy did was he said not only am I going he when he killed the father he said now I gotta kill the two
You got
sons
to, because the sons are gonna rise
because
up
the
and get
sons
you.
are gonna come back and get you.
Yeah, yeah,
A son will never forget the man who murdered his father. I don't care who
yeah.
it is. So this man again, everybody's got problems now. Like
Right.
the survivor, he's probably got the most problems at all of everybody, because now he knows his kid is out here, who's gonna be mad at him forever. And they live in Texas, where people just crazy in Texas. I love Texas, but shoot, all them guns and
It's
stuff.
the wild, wild west out there.
It's the Wild Wild West. It is the absolute Wild Wild West.
Anything goes.
Yeah, so the son gonna grow up. He gonna have a gun of his own. He gonna have a farm with some roosters, and and his gang. He gonna test your gangster one day. So I just kind of think you're right to some extent. I totally get people that say that it shouldn't have to go to this point, right? I understand the man's right to defend himself, to bear arms. I'm cool with all of that to a point, actually, but I do think that when you're talking about bearing arms, you have to have some degree of reason and logic that tends to get lost when you're in these volatile situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So this one incident is going to have some long term implications.
Yeah, I'm gonna track this case. I'm really interested to see what happens in the end.
Well, it's going to play out.
Yeah.
It's going to play out for the next 20 or 30 years.
Ah. Uh-huh.
The son in a decade, the son will be in a therapist's office trying to figure it all out. Like literally in the year 2050, that little boy is going to be thinking about this incident. He's going to be watching this video
It's his
30 or 40
story. It
years from
has
now.
now become his story. It's his life story right
That is
now.
his story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I encourage everybody, this is my final point on this. I encourage everybody, like, just remember, like, everything you do, you're creating the story for your children. You're
Mm-hmm.
creating the soundtrack for their life.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might think that you just defending your honor, or you might think that it ain't your fault that you fighting with your baby daddy, or that it's the baby mama, she the crazy one, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember, you are creating the story and the soundtrack for your children's lives. They're going to be
Mm-hmm.
talking about this in the year 2060, the year 2070. So think carefully about what you do. You know, don't let your ego be the driving force behind everything you do. Like, oh no, hell no, no, you didn't disrespect me.
Yeah.
No, like,
Would they think that they're teaching their children right. Look at this man. He thinks he's justified in shooting him. Yes, I justified in shooting you. You learn this lesson, you do the same. Like he really feels that he has done nothing wrong.
well, I'll tell you what, everybody made in the video. From what I saw, it looked like everybody has a little bit of wrong. There's a little bit of wrong
Oh,
to
they're
go
not
around
gonna
for
see
everybody.
it. They're gonna be pointing the fingers. So I have a hunch.
That's
A
gonna
lot
be
of fingers are be pointing. They're
that's
not
gonna be
gonna
interesting.
look at their part in it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, guys, if you all want to see the actual video, you can watch it. I can't show it on YouTube, the shooting itself, because that's a violation of YouTube violence rules. But also we didn't want to really gossip about just what happened with this family.
Yeah.
Uh, really, I wanted to have a conversation about the baby mama, baby daddy drama that all of us deal with. and help you understand that there are ways to deal with it. And I hope that you will be wise, and I hope that you will love your children and have healthy relationships, because that's an important part of protecting your family legacy. All right, so do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe before you go. This is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. If you want to follow Alicia, she's a licensed relationship therapist and couples counselor and a full professor of social work. You can follow her at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. If you'd like to join us for the December 5th Drama Free Families seminar, we're going to do, it's going to be a 2-day deep dive, research based analysis on how to have a family that minimizes baby mama, baby daddy drama, drama with kids, parental alienation, financial confusion, just all of that. Go to Coaching with Dr. Alicia on Instagram, click the link in the bio, and there's a link right there on the bio that'll show you where you can sign up. So feel free to join us. And also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can go to boyceandaliciatv.com. We do pillow talks maybe about twice a week. And our goal is to hopefully help you have a better life. So God bless you. Have a good day. And we will see you soon.
Goodbye, everyone.